remember the Shabbat day. Why did he tell them to remember before the Sabbath day was even instituted? He told them to remember the Shabbat day because Adam was given it in Genesis 2:2 in Bereshith. It had been passed on, and they understood the concept of a 7-day week. My friends, look at all the calendars in the world and examine that they have 7-day weeks. There is no mathematical formula to why this works the way it works. You can't divide 30 or a lunar cycle or a solar cycle by 7 and get any particular number that gives us a conclusion that we must have 7-day weeks. The only answer lies in the book of Bereshith or Genesis, where Yahuwah creates all things in 6 days, and upon the 7th movement of Yah, he rests from his labors. He puts all things into motion, and he rests from his labors. Now Yahuwah does give life upon the Shabbat day because he is life force. That is what his name literally means. Yah, who Ah means Yah, who is Yah. Yah meaning I am, or I will be. What I will be, I will exist. Life, that is life. The being, which is the being. The ongoing, the self-existing one. The one who gives life and breathes life, my friends, is what his name literally means. It is on such a deep level that we can't even properly put it into words, my friends. The only word that can be properly put it into perspective is his name, Yahuwah. He gives life upon the Shabbat day, and he shows us that we should do good upon the Shabbat day. So, keep that in mind. All creation doesn't fall to pieces on the Shabbat day because Yahuwah is taking a vacation. No, he rests from his labors, from putting the physical materials that needed to go forth to create life in the various things around us. He created those in 6 cycles and allowed them to continue and to bring forth seed after its kind and ongoing, even upon the Shabbat day, because he gives life, my friends. Okay? So it's very important to note that, because there are people who want to use the Shabbat as use the resting of the Sabbath. Oh, we're not supposed to do anything. We're not supposed to do good. We're not supposed to do anything for anybody. We're just supposed to sit around. No, friends, we're supposed to do good things upon the Shabbat day, just as Yahuwah gives life upon the Shabbat day. Just as he rests upon the Shabbat day and gives us something to look forward to in the future, we also rest in him and rest in his promises, doing good things and giving life upon the Shabbat day. Okay, so the 4th commandment begins, remember the Shabbat day to keep it set apart. 6 days you shall work and do all of your labors. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to Yahuwah your mighty one. You shall not work. You nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor your maidservant, nor your female servant, nor the stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah your mighty one created the heavens, the earth, and the seas, and all that is in them. And he rested upon the Sabbath day. Therefore Yahuwah blessed the Shabbat day to set it apart or make it kadosh. If you will look at Exodus chapter 20, you will quickly realize that in the 10 commandments, the longest commandment is the Shabbat commandment, the Sabbath commandment. He tells us that anybody who brings his name to nothing will not be held guiltless. But he doesn't say more than that upon that commandment. He doesn't say anything. He gives detail in the commandments, but the one that he gives the most detail is the 7th movement of Yah, the time which he tells us to rest from our labors. If we are vessels for the Ruach HaKodesh, which is called Holy Spirit, if we have the same Spirit, if we have the Spirit of Yahuwah within us, we also will do as he does upon Shabbat, as he rested from his labors and rested and enjoyed his creation, saw that it was good. So we likewise will have a longing and a desire to rest upon the Shabbat day. So why does the Christian church teach that it is not right to rest upon the Shabbat day? Well, friends, the answer lies, we have to go from what is called mainstream modern Christianity as a religion, and we have to go back. But we don't have to go very far back. We only have to go to the 3rd century. You see, something that needs to be understood, my friends, is what is given in the New Testament is very far from what we see in modern Christianity. It needs to be understood that in the book of Acts, in the 2nd chapter, when the Ruach HaKodesh, which is called Holy Spirit, comes upon the early believers, they're all Hebrews, or Abraya. They're all bloodline descendants of Abraham through Yitzhak, or Yatzak, and Jacob, which is called Jacob, which was later named Yisrael. It is very imperative to see that they were bloodline descendants because we have the Ruach falling upon these men. They receive the Ruach HaKodesh, which is the Spirit of Yahuwah, and they begin to do works in the name of Yahushua, their Messiah. However, we have something interesting that happens later in the book of Acts, where Kepha, who is called Peter, or Shimon, he has a vision. And in the vision, I'm not going to go into detail, but it literally had the interpretation that we should call no man common or unclean. And he later took, during this time of the vision, right after the vision, he went to a Greek man named Cornelius' home where he shared the Besorah, or what is called the good news or gospel. And they believed, and they were filled with Ruach HaKodesh, and they were immersed in the name above all names. It is very imperative to understand this because this gives us the order of operation. It was to the Hebrews first, then to the Greeks. After the 1st century, at the end of the 1st century, we see that most of what scholars call early church fathers, none of these were Hebrew people, even though there are history records which prove that there were Hebrew believers of Yahushua at this time. Greeks had separated themselves from the Hebrew believers. And many of them had fallen back into their ancient pagan ways and their customs. But what they had done is taken the idea of the Hebrew Mashiach and made them a universal Christ figure. They basically hijacked the story. Now, many of these Greeks did believe. We know that there were believers at the end of the 1st century who were apostles or disciples who learned under Yahuchanan, who is called John, which was the beloved disciple of Yahushua, who is the author of the book of Revelation, who is the author of Yahuchanan or John and 1st and 2nd John. Okay? So we know that there were early believers who had been disciples of him who were keeping the Passover, who were keeping the Sabbath.
מחכים הדור לשובך, מאחלים עמים לבואך, אל הכבוד ששמך יגדל, תפאר מלכי בברית